Okay. Dr. Lim, can we start now?
Okay, good morning.
Okay,
Okay, we can start now.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Thank you for being with us this morning, attending today's webinar, Constructing Good Essay Question and Scoring Rubric. In this session, we will be introduced to the professional guidelines for constructing good quality essay questions for assessment. This will provide an opportunity for you to become skillful test developers in constructing different ways of scoring procedures for marking the essay questions. This is a 2-hour session and we will end at 12 noon. So before we start, please allow me to introduce today's speaker. Dr. Lim Hui Yan is an associate professor at the School of Educational Studies, USM. She completed her doctorate in educational measurement and evaluation at University Malaya. Her research interests include development of innovative assessment tasks, school-based assessment, assessment literacy, and holistic assessment. She has won several medals for the development of innovative and creative assessment tasks. She is also actively engaged in the training of pre-service teachers, in-service teachers, and academic staffs of schools, colleges, and universities. She has published numerous journal articles and presented papers at national and international conferences. So please join me in welcoming Associate Professor Dr. Lim Hui Yan. So Dr. Lim, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Puan Nolisa. Okay, good morning to all of you, everyone. Can you see my slide? Is it okay? Clear? Can you see or not?
Yes, we
Okay.
can see it.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Lim, can you make it full screen?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you everyone for joining this workshop. Okay, so the title of our today's workshop is Constructing Good Essay Questions and Scoring Rubric. So I thought that before we go in detail about how actually our focus is about how to develop the better quality of good essay questions. Okay, so before we go in detail about the guidelines, of course, the main focus that we are going to share is about the guidelines, okay, how to develop the better quality of essay questions. So I found that it's important, okay, to our participants today, ladies and gentlemen, to have some, some clearer idea, okay, some comprehensive pictures about the concept, actually what is mean essay questions, and some fundamental principles of developing assessment tasks. So because this fundamental principle to become a professional assessor, okay, so we should know some fundamental principle. So it's not only for essay questions, but also for any others item format. So if we understand these three, if we are not mistaken, is three, basically the three fundamental principles, so it will be easier for us to understand all the guidelines as well. It's not only for essay, all the guidelines, how to develop different format of item. Okay, so therefore, before we start, like I said just now, before we start to highlight the guidelines, to learn about the guidelines in detail about the guidelines, how to develop the better quality essay question, I will share with you the fundamental, okay, the fundamental to develop essay, sorry, it's not essay, assessment task, okay, as general. So, okay, so now we start to understand about paper and pencil test. I'm sure you heard before, this terminology is very common, right? So agree that essay question actually is under paper and pencil test. Maybe of us now we shift to online mode, computer mode, okay, but still it's a test. So actually the procedures, okay, the guidelines we apply, okay, to develop essay questions either in computer mode or paper and pencil mode actually are the same. Okay, so in our education measurement, or we can in our education assessment, actually in general, paper and pencil tests only can be, we categorize it into two, not many. Maybe later we share with you, maybe we heard before there are various of terminology used, right? Okay, never mind. We go through this one first, then I will discuss in detail what are the difference, okay, the different the terminology used in terms of the paper pencil test, okay. Okay, so basically two, like just I say, right? Paper and pencil test, basically in our education measurement and evaluations, we categorize it only into two. Okay, so how we categorize it into two? We based on the candidate's structure response. When I say structure response, means their structure answer, means the candidate's structure answers. Okay, so you will see that the first category, we call it as a selected response test item. So basically, we easier for us to call to name it. We just say SRT item. Okay, so you will see that SRT item. The main features is about we require the student to select their answer based from the alternative or options provided to them. For example, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure after this brief, features show here, I'm sure you have example, a very clear example, very common example. What are the item format under this SRT task item? Maybe ladies and gentlemen, you have do you have an example that you can share? What are the example under this category? MCQ, isn't it? MCQ or true false test, right? So binary choice, we call it as a binary choice item. Okay, so MCQ, I'm sure you know, is a multiple choice item. Okay, so multiple choice item, normally we will provide in this item format, we will provide to the candidate sometimes 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 6, and sometimes 7. So even 7 also we have. So to understand in detail about this SRT test item, we are going to have another workshop regarding this SRT. Today we are going to focus only on CRT item. Okay, so if you are interested, I welcome you and you join the workshop about SRT item in if I'm not mistaken in July. Okay, so now we go back to this one. Okay, so the first category is SRT, means the student no need to write even one word. Okay, they just give us their response based on the options provided. This is what we call it SRT test, SRT item, or in Malay we call it ujian item, ujian pemilihan respon, or in all terminology used is objective test item. Okay, so it's very clear. You will see that in education assessment, we categorize it very simple into two. Okay, so now we go to the next category, the second category. Okay, the second category, based on the word used, very easy for us to understand what is the second category is about. Constructed response. Okay, so when we use the terminology response in our education assessment, actually it's the meaning is about answer. Okay, so it means that very easy, isn't it? Construct, just now is select. So it means that the student, the candidate, have to construct their original response. No choices given. They have to write. They have to give their idea. Okay, so this is what this second category is what we are going to focus. Okay, so you see that started item or in bahasa Malaysia we ujian pembespon atau technology unit test item, right? Okay, so here, okay, I put it in red color is what we are going to focus today. Okay, we have no time to focus short answer and then is the item. Okay, so normally in face-to-face workshop together with me, the participants, because we can conduct until 4 hours for this topic, sometimes 3 hours. So I can have a more detail because we together we can have a hands-on, you know. But now it's a bit challenging because I only can, how to say, conduct this workshop through online. Okay, so therefore I have to shorten it because online, you know, the concentration will be different compared with the face-to-face workshop. Face-to-face is more interesting because I can have a hands-on, you know. Okay, so never mind. So today, still I'm focused on today's main content. Okay, so here, okay, construct all kinds of response. Like I say, the student, we force them to have to write. Okay, so to basically, okay, under this second category, we have two kinds of CRTE item. Okay, the first one is short answer. The second one is essay. Okay, so you will see that, ladies and gentlemen, short essay, short answer questions, basically, still in, like I said just now, in education assessment, we categorize item based on the student's response, structure, respond, right? Just now I mentioned. Okay, so short answer questions, normally the requirement for from the student's answer is short, of course, short answer, right? So how you going to have what is it? To differentiate between essay and short answer. If you refer sources, sometimes you will see a bit different. But normally we will say that short answer require the answer normally is in within one sentence. Okay, if more than one sentence, normally we will categorize it as a essay item. Okay, maybe if short is shorter, then we will categorize it under restricted response essay. I'm going to go share in detail about this one, don't worry. So this is what we categorize it. Okay, so again, you will see that short answer. We will rank it in terms of the student's structure response. Okay, a short answer, restricted response essay, and the third one is extended response essay. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, maybe like just now at the beginning, I did mention that maybe you heard it's very common terminology, different terminologies. Okay, I'm sure you heard before: open-ended questions, closed-ended questions, ill-structured questions, well-structured question, right? Okay, actually, in our education assessment, it's very easy. We just categorize it either in short answer or restricted response essay. Depends on the requirement of the structure response, from the test developer. Okay, so the different, maybe you will ask why they have this different terminology, because they want to make it more specific. And then I can say that, for example, open-ended questions and structured questions, they are more focusing on assessing students' higher level thinking skill. So in terms of the item format, maybe they will have two parts. Okay, two components. So before they show the questions, the first part, maybe you will see that they have STEM. Okay, STEM means the scenario, the story of the questions. Okay, so this is the difference. Okay, so very easy. What I want to say here, don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. If you notice the various terminology, don't confuse, ladies and gentlemen. It's just like that, you know, very simple for us I mean the expert in our education assessment, we categorize in such a way very easy. Okay, so the difference is, like I said just now, the item format, how to say, they have two parts. If let's say they want to focus on assessing higher order thinking ability of the candidate. Okay, clear, ladies and gentlemen, so far clear? Actually, you can, how to say, you can interrupt. Okay, you can interrupt, and then you can ask me from through the chat box. Okay, on and on. I will how to say, I will check the chat box. Okay, so if you have any questions, anytime you can ask me. So because it's very important, right? Halfway, if you not understand, then better, I think you ask me first. I try my best to share with you whatever I know. Okay, so okay, so I can proceed now. Is it okay? Can I? Okay, good. Okay, so now we go to the essay question. Just now is some, how to say, maybe we can say that it's an introduction, but actually it's very important, right? Actually, you will know that actually the essay questions under which family, right? So now today I will try to learn the knowledge and skill to become a more professional assessor. So the overall picture, the comprehensive pictures about assessment, we should know, right? Okay, so now we go into essay questions. Okay, right. So essay questions actually very common. I think this one no problem for you, very easy to understand. Okay, can be presented either in the form of direct questions or imperative statement. Okay, if I'm not clear, I'm sure you clear maybe the terminology. Sometimes it's because the terminology, you know. Okay, you try to have a look about the examples show, right? It's very easy, right? I think all of us here are, what is it, lecturers, right? We are lecturers, and then we have to construct essay question every semester. Every semester when come to the assessment, either it's a formative assessment or summative assessment, right? So I'm sure we have experience to construct essay question, right? So basically, these are the two formats that normally we apply, right? The format that we apply. Okay, so I'm not going to read. So you just want to show you, okay, how we present the essay item. Okay, so the tabs. So now this. Okay, so this one is about the types of essay item, essay questions. Okay, so like just, I think just now I already introduced to you about these two terminology. The first one is extended response essay. The second one is restricted. Still remember? Okay, essay basically we can categorize it into two, right? Just now I show you at the beginning of my slide. Okay, so this one is, we call it as extended response essay. Okay, what is it? Okay, allow the student to determine the length and the complexity of their response. So it means that students can decide regarding the number of the words, the length, how many pages they want to write to answer the questions. So normally, if the LO involve, how to say, more to the higher level, what we say that, let's say, for example, maybe they will ask to judge critically. Okay, some of the school, okay, based on my experience, I conducted this workshop. Some of the school, they are very, how to say, they are very frequent. They use these types of AC because they say that because when they, how to say, they want to assess the students' critical thinking in terms of doing judgment about what they have learned, the content, so they cannot limit them. So therefore, this is a very common essay format for them to use. Okay, so depends on the LO. Okay, right. So, but then the issue is, of course, we should agree that that is more time consuming to mark, right? Compare with the next one. Later, I will show you. Okay, so one of the example here, okay, is how to say, when come up, for these types of essay, normally the item is more general. Okay, it's more general. Okay, so the next one is restricted response essay. This one is more structure. We try to pose a specific issue or problem. So, for example, maybe we can limit in terms of number of words or pages or time limit, but seldom we limit their time, right? So number of words or number of pages, maybe, okay? But sometimes we will notice that the developer, the task developer, I mean, our common practice in our university, the task developer will limit in terms of maybe we'll ask the student to discuss three most common causes, okay, three factors. I mean, limit the number of the content, okay. Like I put the example here, I borrowed the number 3, for example, 3 most common causes. Okay, so you can see that the difference between extended and restricted means this restricted is more structured, okay, and more specific, and then we limit indirectly we limit the content and the scope, okay. So means that it's not that general. So when come to the scoring will be easier, okay, will be easier. Okay, so later I will repeat the discussions about these two types of essay. Yeah. Okay, so just now they show you basically the meaning, the meaning that how we categorize into these two. Okay, so now we go to the question about why we want to choose essay question. Why we don't choose SRT item, right? For example, why we choose? Okay, so it's very important, isn't it? So to become a professional assessor from the beginning until the end, we must be very clear why we choose essay, right? If people ask us, you have 4 LO, for example, 3 LO in our course. So why this LO we are going to assess through by using essay? So I think this question, I think we should able to answer. Okay, so but never mind. Before we answering why, maybe I think it's very important. We should know what is essay. Like just now at the beginning of my presentation, right? Although today's workshop is about how to develop a good essay questions, but the overall pictures about this, okay, the family, all the important informations and knowledge and skill, we should master it, right? So therefore, I'm going to share with you about the concept of essay questions. Okay, what does mean essay? Essay question. So actually, based on the review, okay, the sources, actually you will see that there are a few different. It's not that different, but they have some similarity regarding the definition. So a definition given a long time ago, for example, Sanico appear to be very common and very helpful and most common used. Therefore, I'm going to share with you. Okay, you try to read. Okay, you try to understand these definitions, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, done. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the definition actually is very important, right? Why is important? Because if we understand clearly the concept of the certain item format, then only we can utilize it and we may not underestimate it, right? That is very important for us to learn the guidelines some more. Okay, so therefore I have to show, okay, the definition. Okay, so okay, based on the definition shown just now, you will see that actually we can highlight the few criteria about, I mean, based on the definition, we can highlight the certain criteria that we need to know. Okay, so the first one means they highlight that the student actually have to compose, right? This is, we have to agree, right? Like opposite, I mean, compare with the SRT, right? SRT, they don't need to write even one word, right? They just tick, okay? Because the options and how to say, the alternative answer provided to them. So this one, they have to compose. So allow different and original responses. So once they have to write, of course, we will get a different idea from the candidate, right? We will receive different idea, different thinking. This will come from their reasoning, all right? Come from their reasoning ability. So original responses. So means that essay question should meet this. In other words, that based on the definitions, essay question supposed to meet the following criteria. Okay, so means that a lot different or original, or the original idea or responses. Okay, so the next one, provide student with indications of thinking. Okay, the student have the chances to think about the content that they have learned. Okay, a challenge their thinking ability. In other words, so student have to write. That is the based on the definition just now, more than one sentence. Like I mentioned just now, okay, the differences between short answer questions. Okay, so one of the way that we differentiate it, again, we based on the students or participant, the candidates structure response. So more than one sentence, okay, in essay question, they have to respond. Okay, so now we try to see whether the following example, whether it meet the criteria as good essay question or not. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about this item? Whether the meet or not? Okay, so you will see that this question actually can be answered easily if, let's say, because it just require the candidate to list, right, the 7 step. So they memorize it, then they give back, right? They give back to us. Okay, so and even sometimes based on this question also, you will see that our requirement is list them in the correct order. So maybe they will give is a point form, a label date 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, no complete sentence. That is another issue, right? So what we want to highlight here, actually, if we go back to the criteria that we shared just now, look like it does not allow the original response. Okay, and then maybe like I say just now, point form maybe already they can give us they can how to say, they can get marks because they're able to list it in, or what is it, in order, right? Okay, so they can get marks, even they can get a high marks, but don't need to write even a complete sentences. Okay, so this is what is the importance that we need to know, the concept of essay. Okay, so perhaps we can try to revise it in such a way like this. Okay, so we will ask them, in rather than ask them to list, maybe we can change to explain, to ask them to explain and then provide examples. Okay, so why do we choose essay question? Okay, so why? So just now I did show you the definitions of essay questions, because I found that it's easier for us to share when come to the guideline. Okay, still it's not the main focus of those, but it's very important, we have to know, right? Okay, so once we understand the concept, then only we can use it accurately, right? So after we understand about the concept of essay questions, so maybe now we can say we easily for us to understand the importance why we are going to choose essay question. Okay, we must understand that the main purpose that we use essay, okay, we are not going to use SRT item, because we are going to assess students two component. Okay, the two important abilities, that is their thinking, because we how to say, we require their original idea, right? And their writing ability. They have to write. Okay, so this is basically the main purpose. Okay, and then actually there is a no perfect criteria. How to say? We have to use essay questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, nowadays, if we want to fulfill the what is it? I'm sure all of us we know about MQA. I'm sure all of us know about the importance of the LO, right? And then also we all of us we understand about constructive alignment theory, right? So how to say, essay question is one of the assessment, paper and pencil test is one of the assessment method. Am I right? So or how to say, one of the assessment method, it means that it's impossible we are going to assess all our LO by using essay question, right? Okay, so but then when if let's say we choose essay, we decide to use essay to assess one or two of our LO, so basically we're able to justify it, right? To become a professional assessor, we cannot simply decide it. This is the what is it? The actually the professional procedure to become I mean how to say how to say, a professional assessor as well. Okay, so this is a standard. I think the proper terminology I have to use is the standard procedure that we have to follow. Okay, to become the professional assessor. Okay, so okay, come back to this one. No perfect criteria actually, but okay, to justify it, maybe we have to go back to the LO. Okay, the constructive alignment theory, okay, tells us that there are three components, they are aligned each other. The first one is the LO. LO become the main reference for our teaching and learning preparation, and as well the teaching strategy. And then the third component is the assessment. So we can see that in the constructive alignment theory, the assessment play a very important is considered as a very important component. Okay, so go back to our main reference, that is LO. Okay, so to be given to the verb that we state in our LO. It's not about define, it's not about list, right? So therefore, then our justification will be more convincing. Okay, so and we understand very clear why we decide to use essay question, because it's appropriate to be used to assess the particular LO. Okay, so intended learning outcome, yes, like just I say, okay, the verb, okay, the verb that it can provide a very clear directions, okay, for the choice of assessment method, like I say just now, right? So again, I say that all the LO, it's impossible that can be assessed appropriately by using essay, right? So we have to know there are various types of assessment method, right? Then we have to decide properly, okay? So means that I try to let you go back. I mean, the LO, the main reference, still is our main point to justify. Okay, so some directing verb in our LO, okay, that indicate that students need to construct rather than to select their answer, right? Okay, so construct means they have to judge, they have to critics, they have to explain, right? So meanwhile, for maybe, okay, some of the of LO require more to the what is it? Maybe they just require them to define, to list, to sort out. Okay, so this one of the main criteria that we can refer, okay, to just to decide. So and then the next criteria is about the group to be tested. Okay, is it small? And then also the number of examiner also we have to consider. If we have a big number of the candidate, so what about the examiner, right? So this all, I mean, this issue also we have to consider when we want to decide AC. Okay, because like project, sometimes we will ask the student to have the group project, right? So group project, the number of project that we need to mark, of course, less than if AC normally is involved individual. Okay, so the third one, resources and time available for scoring. Okay, because like I said, like we know that, okay, essay questions involve human judgment, manually mark. Okay, so compare with the SRT item, that will be very easy. So time is one of the main issue. Okay, so now, okay, we have understand and answer tasks, right? And then we have understand about the concept of essay questions, essay question, okay? And then how we are going to decide, okay, what kinds of criteria we have to consider, the okay, when we want to decide to use essay to assess our LO that we have shared just now, right? Okay, so now we are going to share about the fundamental principle for crafting assessment tasks. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, these fundamental principles, although it's only three, but actually, how to say, actually when you look through, okay, when you look through all the guidelines, how to develop open-ended questions, how to develop a good multiple choice questions, how you what are the good guidelines to develop essay short answer questions, you will see that actually all the guidelines, I can say that is within these three fundamental. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I mentioned just now, assessment, when we come to the assessment process, we need to use various assessment method. This is, I mean, fulfill the MQA, right? We know. And then, although maybe you will say that I never learned how to develop presentation task, forum, or maybe experiment, right? So don't worry, actually, yeah, these three fundamental is covered. You will see that actually if we understand clearly, okay, thoroughly about this fundamental, actually we have tried a very good try. We develop consider fulfill the minimum, okay, a good assessment task. Okay, assessment task is not really essay, right? Okay, so now we go through one by one the three fundamental principle. Okay, the first fundamental principle focus on important learning outcome. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's very important. Okay, so you will see that learning outcome, okay, maybe we say that in our course we only follow the MQA format. Also we only have three, or maybe some of the course they have four, right? But actually different topic we can have different we can come out different LO, and we can come out the LO for the topic. Why? Because when come to the assessment, that will be easier for our job, you know. So the three fundamental, again, these three fundamental principle, actually you will see that the main concern in education assessment is about two. There are validity and reliability. We cannot avoid when we want to discuss about the good assessment. You know, when we say how you are going to define the good assessment, then based from our education assessment, that is about the big issue that we are going to highlight is about validity and reliability. Okay, so again, you will see that this three fundamental actually is go and round is about these two issue. Okay, come focus on the important learning outcome. Okay, so important learning outcome means we understand we as a what is it, educator, okay, for the content of the course, we are very clear about the important content domain, right? So if when we develop the test, the questions, we must make sure that the task item, the questions represent well the important domain of the topic. Okay, so it wastes the time to assess the minor point. Okay, come have a look of this diagram. Okay, this is what we want to say about the validity in terms of the content evidence. Okay, so diagram A and diagram B. Okay, so for example, in diagram A, I have 5 essay questions. All my questions have been proved. What do you say? They are relevant. They can consider relevant. Fine, 5 easy question. Okay, diagram B. Okay, all my 5 questions also are relevant. I mean, it's within the scope of my course, for example. So you will see that the difference is the coverage of the content. Okay, in gray color, diagram A compared with the between the diagram A and diagram B. So what we can say that the diagram B, the content coverage is better, well represent the, I mean, the topics or the causes better if we compare with the diagram A. So this is what I would like to highlight. So maybe, okay, for what suppose we can do is, assessment method should be planned before we start the teaching and learning. So the planning is very important to make sure that all the assessment cover, how to say, all the assessment method that we use able to assess the content in terms of the content coverage is good enough. Okay, so why? Because if the students they have they score good grade. Okay, you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, maybe this is the first time you heard about validity in the context of assessment. Maybe you know, I am sure you are familiar with this word validity, but maybe in your field there are different definitions and concepts. Okay, so why? Because if imagine let's say the student can score grade A or can score high good score, let's say 90 or 85. Okay, so we have to be very confident to make a generalizations. If the student can score 85, let's say cut-off score, okay, let's say cut-off score is 80, like 80, if because our grade A is 80, okay, so means that the student able to master the main content of our course, right? So these kinds of generalizations is about the validity of our assessment. Validity is not only the instrument, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we have to say we have to make sure that we really have to highlight that the validity evidence have to be collected through the assessment process. It's not only the instrument. Okay, so that's why we concern about this content validity, right? If the student we say that the whole group of my student, 30 of them, okay, take this paper, they're able to score 85 and above. Okay, 85 and above. We have to make sure that whether we are confident to make generalizations, the student really able to master the important content domain of our course. Okay, so we go back to the assessment method. So assessment method is extremely very important. So the beginning of the planning we have to do. Okay, so this is what we want to say, content coverage. Okay, next. Okay, so the second fundamental, the task that we develop must make sure that that is relevant to our learning, the alignment. Okay, we go back to the uh, uh, constructive alignment theory, right? Okay, so the alignment is very important. We have to make sure that the task will not go beyond or than the what is it, the level of the learning outcome, our LO. Okay, so sometimes the test developer they have the misconceptions about the HOX and the difficulty item. Actually, there are two different stories, you know. Okay, so because HOX maybe in our mind, it's not our mind. In students' mind, they will say that HOX means difficult. No, how we are going to develop HOX task? We are not go beyond the level, right? We are not go beyond the level. Still, we assess the particular level, but the strategy that we apply in develop HOX tasks may be with different. Okay, different with the what is it, the common assessment task. Okay, so this is what I would like to highlight here. Okay, in education assessment, difficulty cannot equal to say that difficult means HOX. Okay, so we must able to distinguish between these two terminology. Okay, so come back to this one. Okay, so alignment. Okay, in the simple words, make sure that there is alignment between the assessment task and the level. Okay, so again, it's about validity. Okay, so you will see that all these three fundamental are about validity of our assessment. Okay, so the third one is the task, the technical part of our assessment item must be very clear. Okay, the technical part we cannot have any error in technical part. For example, the vocab used, the grammar, the language used, okay, must be easily for our candidate to understand. If they don't understand, if the directions show they don't understand, if the word used they don't understand, so it's possible the good student they unable to answer. So how are we going to make generalizations to say that our student unable to master of this course? Is in terms of validity, actually it's not valid. You know why? Because actually our task, our essay question, for example, now we are focused on essay question. Our essay questions fail to assess students through ability, right? They unable to answer at all. They don't master the assessment. Okay, maybe they cannot reach the cut of the score. It's not because they don't know, they have the ability, but maybe it's because the problem about vocab and the language or the direction show. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, look like very easy, but it's very important. So that's why we should check carefully our assessment question, whether it's easy for them to understand. And then in our assessment, in our fundamental principle assessment here also, actually, we must make sure that they are very clear. Okay, the important word, we must make sure that we alert them. Okay, so we have to bold it, we have to underline it. This actually is the rule. Okay, we cannot confuse the candidate. But then how to say, no hints, no clue given. Okay, so when come to the SRT items, maybe we will share in detail about clue and hints given. Okay, so because essay we don't have these kinds of problem, right? So normally we don't have. Okay, so this is basically is the three fundamental principle that we are going to how to say, will lead us to understand later about the guidelines. Okay, so again you will see that actually the issue about validity is our main focus. Okay. Okay, so now we go to the guideline. So far, do you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen? I might try to check your chat box. If you have any questions, you can ask me. No, okay. Okay, so now we go to the guidelines. Okay. Okay. The first guideline, basically, I'm going to share with you about the five guidelines. Okay, the five guidelines I'm going to share with you. Okay, so now we try to go to the first guideline. There are five guidelines in basic. So you will see that different sources they show the different. They are sometimes you will see a list of many guidelines. Sometimes actually they are redundant. Okay, so I try to share with you these five basic and how to say considers important guidelines. Okay, so the first one, try to avoid such a word start our essay question by using who, when, and list. So it means that it's possible we will lead the student to require only the recall information, right? We will not ask them to have the complexity thinking development, right? So because who, maybe they can answer easily by just give us the name. Maybe they will just give us the year, or maybe they will list out based on the chronological order, like just now I show you, right? So this is how to say, we need to fulfill. Remember, still go back to the criteria. Okay, so this is, if we have these kinds of problems, we very hard, we want to fulfill the criteria of the good essay question. Then we require the okay, so in the mind of the student, which relate to the learning outcome. So maybe we can use the word, allow for their original responses. This is, already I discussed in my just now the first example. Okay. Okay, so next, the second, clearly define the task within the problem situation. Okay, so in from the perspective of education assessment, okay, if we manage to come out with questions which is more structures, uh, we are advised, it's advisable for us to come out more structures format of essay questions compared to a general format of essay questions. Why? Because we can try to avoid two problems, that is bluffing and grading difficulty. Because when we say bluffing, if our question is too general, maybe the scope, okay, the student, they will have a different directions in terms of the questions or requirement. So the focus is it becomes an issue. Okay, and then the second, when come to the scoring, so the examiner maybe will face a problem because the students thinking will be different, because they have a different idea, a different perspective regarding the questions requirement. So when come to the scoring, the preparations of scoring, we will face a problem. So, and then at the same time, the consistency of the scoring also we will influence our validity. So maybe, okay, some of the, because like I say, when I have a face-to-face workshop regarding this topic, some of the lecturers, they find that the extended is important, but we are not saying that we cannot use it. Depends on our course also, right? This I understand because they did share with me, but we must be careful about these two issues. I discuss it based on our education assessment. Okay, so we must be careful. So when we construct it, make sure that it's not that too general. Okay, so this is about, therefore, we are encouraged, we are suggested, if possible, we use more structure in essay question. More to the restricted rather than extended. Okay. Okay, so more structures will help to avoid the idea of unrelated to the essay question. The scope, So we are very clear. Actually, we know that during we preparing the essay questions, we are very clear as a developer, we are going to assess the particular LO, right? So why don't we try to how to say, to catch the students, to lead the students direction, okay, to bring the students direction towards the scope or the content, okay, the content that we are going to assess. And this is what they would like to highlight. Okay, so extreme subjectivity will, when scoring response, will influence, like just I say. Okay, so if the reliability become a question, so of course it will influence the validity. Okay, so when we discuss about this second guideline about clearly define, okay, clearly define and situate the task within a problem situation. Just now the issue is about the structures of the questions, right? So based on the expert in this area, they suggest that if possible, we are encouraged to use the more structured essay question, okay? Because the concern about validity and reliability. So another issue is within about this guideline. The second one is about vocab. Like just now, still remember the three fundamental? That's why I say if you can understand the three fundamental, actually in the simple words, to actually we break ground and round is within the reliability and validity. And then you will see that the guidelines actually is based on there. You know, okay, so very easy for you to understand, right? Okay, so that's why I have to share with you the fundamental first before I bring you to the guideline. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you develop others assessment tool, others assessment instrument, if you understand clearly about the three fundamental just now, I'm sure very easy you can have a good assessment instrument. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, so come back to this one. The second guide, right? Just now we say that what is it? The item, the format, isn't it? If possible, with more structure, and then the vocab use. Okay, cannot too advanced. Okay, again, the student cannot. The issue is the student may not understand, and then maybe we will make a wrong generalization, say that the student unable to master, or maybe we'll say that maybe we will do the wrong interpretation, say that the questions is too difficult beyond the level. Actually, maybe we don't realize that because of the vocab or grammar error or direction, they don't understand. Okay, so all this will bring to the effect of our validity of assessment. Okay, so it's very important. Okay, so again, clear, define. Okay, remember the third, actually this is about third fundamental. Okay, so if a problem, this is another issue, ladies and gentlemen. If a problem that has been previously discussed in classroom and is used on an exam, the AC question actually only assess student recall or memory of class discussion. Okay, so this is another big issue that our lecturers, they highlight this one during the workshop. That's why I share with you. I found that it's a very important issue, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, in our preparations of essay question during, for our final year exam, right? We have to fulfill the MQA, right? And then we are very clear that our LO have been categorized into levels by using Bloom taxonomy, right? Okay, so when we were preparing for the exam essay questions, we have to be very careful, like just now I said, the alignment. Am I right? The alignment. So, ladies and gentlemen, we must agree that the applications of room taxonomy that we use in MQA and also in preparing of essay questions is for categorizing of item. It's not categorizing of students' ability. Do you agree? Can you understand what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, can you understand what I'm saying? Okay, the when we prepare our questions, okay, when we prepare our questions, we categorize it. We have a TOS, table of specification, right? We need to prepare table of specification. Maybe some of school you don't have this requirement, but different school they have different. Some of school they have. I understand. I understand. So don't worry. Okay, so it's a table. Okay, it's a table. Basically, it's a table. We categorize our item in different level based on the Bloom taxonomy, and also we list out the LO, or maybe you list out the content domain, and then we show that a clearer pictures in our final exam where we categorize it. How many items we are going to prepare for the particular level of the based on the Bloom taxonomy, based on the content domain that we list out for the whole courses. Sounds like it's a summative assessment, right? It's a summative assessment. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, actually when we start preparing the item, we say alignment. Actually, the use of Bloom taxonomy is about categorizing of the item. We claim that it's a analysis, it's a synthesis, right? But actually, is we categorize the item. we categorize it the item level. Do you think that we can confidently say that the students who are able to answer correctly for the particular analysis level item means they achieve the particular level? It's too early. I'm not saying that no, it's too early. Why? Because the scoring rubric, you answered it. Okay, so we must agree that when we apply the Bloom taxonomy, actually we categorize item. You know, how we are going to how are we going to judge the student structure response depends on our scoring rubric, right? Okay, so assessment valid is not only, again, prove that assessment valid is not only the question. There is a common misunderstanding about validity. If our item is very good, yes, tally, align with all the level of Bloom taxonomy and the LOX well, it's valid. No, not yet. It's too early to say that, you know. Okay, later I will share with you again this issue when I go to the scoring rubric. That's why this workshop beginning, when they suggest me to discuss about essay, I found that if I discuss essay without discussing the scoring rubric, look like halfway, you know, halfway. So therefore, I have to, I have to add the scoring rubric in this workshop. Okay, because when we say about essay, we must prepare also the scoring rubric, right? Okay. So this is the issue, and I can say that it's a limitation of Bloom taxonomy. Okay, never mind. Come back to here. This one. So I want you to be purposely I want to bring out this issue because I want you to be it's very important. We must understand it, you know. So because don't easily to make generalizations to say that yes, my student able to achieve the level. You see this statement again. Come back to this statement, ladies and gentlemen. If a problem that has been previously, I already in the class, in my lecture, already discussed the theory A and theory B and theory C. After they understand the three theory, then I discuss also the comparison amongst these three theories or these three concepts, for example. Okay, so I discuss with them in the class. Then when I develop the exam questions, I purposely use the word keyword, analyze and do the comparison among between theory A and theory B. What do you think that I should take for the level of my item? Is it synthesis? Supposed to be, it's not synthesis. Is it analyzing? Do you think that is it analyzing? Do you think that is analyzing? It's not analyzing, isn't it? Maybe we, like I say, it's one of the limitations still, ladies and gentlemen, we must understand, we must accept is the limitations of Bloom. Although we understand MQA use it because it's well-established model in in terms of the cognitive domain assessment. Okay, so do you think that is an analysis? It's not an analysis. It's only a understanding in Bloom revised versions of Bloom taxonomy, right? So we are test developer. We as a test developer, actually we know very well. It's not an analysis. That's why we say we sometimes we are very particular about the keyword. I understand keyword is the easier ways to differentiate it. But the question is, I'm sure test developer, they know better, right? We know better. If we already discuss it and then we take it, nobody will know, right? That actually, if we base on this standard procedure, in terms of the level, cognitive level, actually is not the analysis. Actually, it's a lower level. If a problem that has been previously discussed in exam, the exam question mainly assess students recall or maybe the lowest level. That is what? Knowledge, isn't it? Understanding. Okay, so this issue I try to raise out because like I say, I have conducted before this topic. Okay, I have many lecturers share with me about all this, and very good. Actually, you all very good, although you are not in this area, but actually you have a lot of information. Actually, I learned a lot from our staff academic in USM. I appreciate it because every time I conducted this workshop, I have a different information, actually they know very well, very clear, about this issue. Okay, so that is a limitation. I conduct first time CDA's workshop today through online. You see, very quiet, isn't it? No response, I ask question, I answer myself, that is the limitation through using online. Okay, never mind, I understand it. Okay, so come. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we must we must be very clear about this. Okay, so we go back to the what is it, the cognitive level. We understand it, we must understand it very clear about cognitive level. And then the what is it, the definition, the concept of the, the cognitive level. Do you think that if, let's say, like I say just now, this issue, okay, I highlighted here now, this issue that I show here, then if we refer back the definitions of analysis, I don't think that is true, right? Okay, so, okay, number 3. Now we go to number 3. Okay, we are encouraged as a professional assessor, actually we are encouraged to state the point value and the time limit for each questions. I think we do it right. Point value, okay, is very important. Like I say, all the informations, important information we must show to the students. Should they have the right to know that, that we should provide to them. Okay, provide some estimate, because it's very important for them to estimate how long the student should spend for each question. This is a very third guideline, is considered important guideline. Okay, maybe you are only maybe the point only will give to that for the first question only 6, but you don't show it, we don't show it, so they will lose their directions. How long, in how to what extent, how detailed they have to provide their response. Okay, so don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, for this one, I think most of our staff, they have they state the point value. So far I know. Okay, so this one, number 4. I think I already mentioned just now, right? Use several relative restricted response essay rather than one extended response essay. Okay, valid limit number of it. We must agree that valid limit number of essay questions then can be included on a task, right? Within 3 hours, within 2 hours, how many they manage to finish, right? There is a limitation in terms of the content coverage. If we want to discuss about content coverage of our assessment, of course, SRT item is the best, right? Within 2 hours, how many MCQ they can do? There are 50 or 60, and sometimes until 80 questions. But essay question, how many? Therefore, the content coverage, of course, we cannot compare with the SRT test. Okay, so we must understand the pro and con of SRT test and also CRT test. Okay, so valid limit number, okay, limited time, we must agree, right? We understand it. So create a challenge to design a valid, still again, we go back to the valid essay question test. So therefore, from the perspective of our education assessment, more, how to say, more restricted response essay are encouraged to be used, because we limit the scope and content, and then of course automatically the length of the answer will not be too long, because we have already, the scope is clearer, right? Then the number of questions will be more compared with the extended. This is, don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I know that very clear. Some of the school, they still found that extended, like just like I say, extended is significantly important. Okay, but then from our perspective in education assessment, in terms of 2 main concerns, validity and reliability, this is what we encourage and we suggest. Okay, so more item we can create it in the test. Therefore, we are encouraged to have restricted, okay, compared with the extended if possible. Okay, so shorter response can be scored, right? If we have more structure and then the focus, we have very clearer in our test item. So when come to the scoring, when we prepare for the scoring rubric, there will be more specific. So when it's more specific, especially when we involve more scorer, more examiner, then the consistency will be better. This is the cause and effect. No, that is the why they have this guideline as a considered important. Okay, this is number 4. Okay, number 5. Okay, number 5, the student actually, okay, still from our perspective in educational assessment, actually assessors, the task developer, how to say, not encouraged to employ optional questions. Of course, the student enjoy these procedures. Okay, so maybe they will waste their time to decide also an option. Okay, so why? Okay, from the perspective on our from our from our this area, you will see that, okay, especially in summative assessment, I'm sure you know about the two in terms of the purpose of assessment. Okay, we have 3 in general. Whether is it summative, is it formative, or is it diagnostic, right? Okay, so okay, I think you have we have to know. Okay, is it summative in terms of purpose? Is it for summative? Before we start to have to plan for the assessment, we earlier plan, we must be very clear about all this. We cannot take out the simply to say create the questions without clear about the purpose. Am I right? If we without sorry, your best ever to make all the question compose. So your best advice to make all exam question compulsory. How to say? I have okay. I try to answer. From our perspective, why? Because if we have this optional question, they have choices. Okay, especially in summative assessment. Summative assessment, in terms of the summative assessment, we want to see the students. This is the points I just want to highlight, but I will share with you the other school, their reason. Okay, so it depends on me, depends on your practice also, but from the perspective of from how to say, from here, I mean from the education assessment, in terms of the two concern. Okay, validity and reliability. Okay, okay, so if we have summative assessment, we are very clear. Summative assessment, we want to, what is the purpose is about summative. Summative means we want to see the students' overall performance, right? Right? Okay, so overall performance. So if we have, let's say we have 8 questions, the students will choose 4 out of the 8. Okay, so maybe the student A will choose 1, 2, 3, 4. The second student will choose 5, 4, 6, 7. So they look like taking different tests. And then we know that the 8 question, they may have different difficulty, right? So in terms of fairness, in terms of the comparison, when come to the summative assessment, normally it's more to the non-reference interpretation. I mean, in terms of the student's performance. So do you think that is, I mean, in terms of fairness, do you think that is it accurate? Okay, so do you think that is it valid? Of course, they are less valid, right? So this is the argument I would like to share with you from the perspective of our educational assessment. Okay, so, and then I found that from my reading, I found that the experts say that, okay, so we also can be considered also in terms of the the purpose of assessment. Let's say the assessment is more to the assessing to the more to the assessment of students' general writing skill. For example, by our SOLAT, they have these kinds of sharing. So their purpose is more to the how to say, to detect the students, I mean grammatical error and so on. I mean more to the general writing skill. So that's why And also from my reading, the experts say that maybe they can have how to say optional questions. Okay, but must be careful. There is another issue people raise out. That is the difficulty of questions, whether is it same or not, right? So we must be very careful. Okay, so if possible, what I can answer is, if possible, we try, because we notice that some of the people, they have until 8, and then the student choose 4 out of the 8. So for example, okay, for example, because the example I share with you is not the example I create, but it's come from the sharing of the lecturers. So that is a, they been happen these kinds of the situation. I mean, student A and student B totally different questions they choose. Okay, so again, when come to the our main concerns of our validity, there will be I mean, it's considered an issue. Okay, okay, I go back to your chat. Let me finish. Just that I try to finish it. Okay, uh, no choices, Dr. Ruhizani. Yes, no choices. Okay, I usually do that. Usually at the exam have option choose 3 out of 5. Okay, so this is, I mean, again, our argument based on the education, I mean, our field, our area. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, please consider, we must be very clear when we develop the questions for AC, summative assessment, we claim that as a summative assessment. 5 questions we create it, and then we how to say, in our learning outcome, sorry, in our TOS table of specification, we claim that this test will cover the 5 essay question for the particular topic A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example. Am I right? Okay, fine. Okay, so but then actually the assessment is not cover, I mean, it's not cover the 5 topic, because choices provided to the candidate. Actually, we did not assess the what is it, the selected topic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as you mentioned in the TOS, and also you're planning in for the MQA. You understand what I'm saying? Because they have the optional question, means that the student may not answer the particular question for the particular topic. You know, so how are we going to make the generalizations about the students overall in performance? That is an issue. That is the point that I would like to highlight. So maybe, ladies and gentlemen, maybe we need to think carefully about this. Assessment, okay, is overall, to assess the purpose. You want to see the overall of their performance. Okay. Okay, so now we go to the so now timing is very good. 1 hour around for the essay questions. Now the second part, I will share with you about different types of scoring too. Okay, good. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, actually this scoring rubric, we can go a very detail about this. But then since this topic I share with the score, what is it, the essay. So I just will, how to say, I will highlight, actually scoring tool is not only scoring rubric. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to become a professional assessor, right? So we have to know more. Okay, so actually scoring tool, for this scoring tool, we can have a very detailed discussion. But my focus today, I will only focus on scoring rubric. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I will share with you the example of a scoring, different types of scoring tool. Like I share with you about paper and pencil test as my intro, and then under paper and pencil test, there are 2, and then score AC questions as under selected, for example. So you have a better and, how to say, a comprehensive pictures about paper when people say about paper and pencil test, right? Okay, same with this one. Okay, come. Okay, so this one, what we call it actually. Let me try to read. I'm not going to read word by word because you are better than me.
Is this restricted response?
Restricted. No. This is a scoring. Now we are discussing about scoring too. We are for 1 minute now because I'll try to read the chat. You give me 1 minute first. You try to read the example I show. Just now from our Peter Gan, we can create the questions with more or less the same level of difficulty. Of course, we can have different questions, so how to say, various questions for analysis for topic 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But the content will be different, right? So students will be easily, they can spot. This is another issue. I think we are, as a lecturer, we know, right? So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the suggestions, like the expert just now I share with you, okay? We can have, if possible, if really our course is appropriate to be accessed by using restricted, that is will be better, because more questions we can expect the student to do it, right? Because more structure, okay? So by this way, I think the coverage will be better, okay? We will solve the problem about the optional question just now. That is, I found that is one of the solution, okay? And then how to say, yeah, I go to the Dr. Rohitsani, say what about the content? Yeah, that like just now I say, okay. So the question is, the content will be different, although you will say that you are going to create the questions with more or less of the same level of difficulty, okay, but the content will be different. Maybe you will say that all are about the analysis, but the topic is different, right? Okay, so okay, come back to this one. Now we are in scoring. Don't confuse. Now no more AC. AC just now. Okay, don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I will share with you all my slide. Okay, don't worry. I will share with you the slide I share here. Later I will pass to the CDAE. Okay, this one. What is it? This one normally we use it. What we call it? Ladies and gentlemen, come on. Okay, this one normally we will okay, share with you. Share directly. No answer, no response. Okay, so okay, I think I show example first. Okay, this one normally we will say that it's more to the marking scheme, isn't it? Or we will say that marking, I mean, how to say, they have another word, point scoring scheme. Yes, you will see that in some sources they call it, okay, from Buka's book. Okay, it's a very famous. Okay, so point scoring scheme. Okay, so you will see that we allocate different marks, right? For different 1 and 2, 5 marks, 3, 4, 5, we have three, we allocate three marks and so on, right? This is more to the very common, I think we use back the common terminology. It's a marking scheme, right? Okay, so what about this one? Do you have any idea about this one? Wait, I try to check the next one. Okay, what about this one? What we call it, this one? This one not check rubric. This one not check rubric. It's not a rubric, ladies and gentlemen. Not yet we call it is a rubric. It's more to the, we call it is a rating scale. You will see that there is 0, 1, 2, 3. You can have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? But can you see any description for 1, 2, 3, 4? No, isn't it? This we call it is a rating scale. Okay? So when come to the scoring, ladies and gentlemen, you will see that it's not only when people say, okay, now we want to become a professional assessor. When come to the scoring, when people say that scoring, it's not only scoring rubric. Scoring rubric, normally we have two, So I purposely want to share with you more. So when people ask, at least we know that it's not besides scoring rubric, actually we have this. And then briefly, I will share with you normally when people use it and when people use that, okay? But I cannot go in detail because you see, less than 1 hour now, right? Okay, so this one we call, I think I'm sure you know this one, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, give me your answer. This one, what is it? Come on, give me answer. Check in your chat box. What is it? This one. Yes, very good, Vina. Thank you. No, Izati. Okay, good. This is chatless. Okay, yes. Wait, I try to check my slide. What is the next one? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, okay, so before I go in detail about scoring rubric, okay, when come to the scoring tool, then people will ask us as a professional assessor, okay, what are scoring tool actually we can use? Okay, besides scoring rubric that I share with you later, okay, actually we have a few, right? Marking scheme is a very common, I think you know this one. Can you see? I mean very simple. 5 marks, 5 marks, 3 marks. Okay, so very simple. So this one actually is appropriate to be used if we want to assess students' comprehension of certain concept or certain facts, you know. But if the limitation is, if we want to, if we want to assess students' reasoning pattern, then I don't think that this one can be, is useful, because you see, 5 marks given to the first points. How are we going to decide for 1, 2, 3, 4, for example? You know, so the detail, the reasoning or the thinking pattern of the structure response in detail of the participant look like we're unable to differentiate it when we use it, okay, to decide the accurate point given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so again, if the scholar involve more than one, especially, so the consistency will be query. Am I right? How are we going to decide amongst these 5 marks, for example? Marking scheme, we will call it. Okay, so if we have we just want to assess students' understanding of certain concept, maybe we can use it. Okay, scope is really is a limit. Then okay, and then again another point is, you are not maybe more to the technical skill. Then okay, technical knowledge, that is okay. But if we really go back to our LO, ladies and gentlemen. Now we go back to our LO. Every time we go back to the LO. If our LO, you say to assess students' judgment skill, okay, think critically about blah, 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 blah. I don't think that this one able to have a good judgment in terms of the student's performance, because it's simple like this, okay? So, of course, it's easier to prepare, okay? I give you all this alternative, and then I share with you about normally what in what situation have been used, and then ladies and gentlemen, you make a good decision. Okay, so this one we call it, we will not call it as a scoring rubric, or we don't have a detailed description for the level. You will see that, right? What 0, 1, 2, no description, right? So this one is more to the rating. We call it a rating scale. 0, 1, 2. Normally we put it 0, 1, 2, 3 or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How are we going to decide the number? As long as we're able to differentiate it. So this one, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this one normally people use it when more to the observations of students' certain performance scale. So make sure that the challenge is, because without descriptions, make sure that the observer, if more than one, make sure they understand, what does mean 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so observation, okay, observation skill, for example, public speaking, for example, storytelling, right? So we circle it, faster, isn't it? But then the thing is, we don't have a detailed description here. Okay, so if you sometimes I notice I have I use these kinds of a rating scale when I became a judges. So I'm the what is it, the developer, how they do it, you know, they prepare the what is it, the description in another piece of the paper, because they want to make sure that we are comfortable and convenient for us to to circle, to circle the point during the observations of the students' storytelling. So when we when we give marks, okay, when we give marks as a judge, we only based on this rating scale. But the detail we have to we of course before the competition starts, we have the knowledge, we have the the info about the 0, 1, 2, 3. That is okay. Okay, so try to make sure that all are clear enough, especially our concern is more than one scholar. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, next one. This one is scoring. Sorry, it's a checklist. Like just now, you answered it correctly. Checklist. Checklist is very simple. Some normally is appropriate to be used when we assess students some procedural skill. Let's say we ask the student to show us okay, so they have to follow the step by step, right? The procedures. So we can use this one very convenient, very easy to tick, right? Yes or no, or absent, present. Okay, so this one can be used. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, scoring tool, we can have the marking scheme, the point scoring scheme, or what we call it is a point scoring scheme. We can use, actually we have a variety of the tools, right? Okay, we have a rating scale and we have the checklist. Okay, so checklist actually is more simple. By rating scale, we can consider, because when during the observations, okay, so if more, will be more convenient if you imagine the what is it, the student, they have a group presentation, group by group, let's say lah, group by group come out. So as assessor, you imagine how thick the scoring rubric they have to hold on their hand, isn't it? So if we have the writing skill, then will be more convenient for them to take, right? So anyway, pass to you all as a assessor, okay? And then again, the scoring, the point scoring scheme. Okay, let's say the student, like some of the lecturer, they say the questions sometimes for the quiz, there will be more to the applications, or they want to how to say, to assess students' applications skill in terms of the formula used in their economy. They share with me. Okay, so they just want to how to say, to look at some certain scale, a very specific scale. Okay, and comprehensions of certain formula as well. So they just how to say, prepare for the scoring point, what is it, scoring point scheme. That will be, I think that will be fine, isn't it? It's not involve the, what is it, reasoning pattern and what is it, the detail of the student structure response, right? I go back, ladies and gentlemen, I go back to the one issue I highlighted just now. Again, solo model, we applied it is for the purpose to categorize item, but not yet we look at the students' response, not yet to guide us, not yet we can decide the good assessment if we're able to categorize it correctly, perfectly for the item level. But not yet, it's too early to say that it's valid, because we not yet to look at the how to say, consider about students as a structure response. Therefore, we have to prepare this scoring. We have to prepare this scoring tool, because scoring tool show us our requirement of students' structure response. Okay, so maybe some of our marking, if the student show us the certain keywords, then we consider we will give full mark. So, but we must agree that different candidate, some of them they can elaborate it in very detail. Some of them they can even give example, but some of them they only give us they only show the keyword. So, do you think that your marking process will consider the keyword, or you have to consider also their structure response? I mean, the structure response means their structure answer. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we need to go back to the LO, right? Like I say, we give marks, make sure that we really allocate marks. Weightage is main focus for the criteria that we are going to assess based on the LO. Then only the whole process we say that our assessment is valid. Okay, so when come to the later, I will repeat the same issue again. Okay, don't worry if you don't understand. I'm sure some of you don't maybe you don't understand what I'm saying. Okay, never mind. Come. Okay, what is scoring rubric? Wait, before I go to allocate points based on level of difficulty of reaching item and length. Points, I'm based on the level of difficulty of reaching. Okay, how detailed? About how detailed your expectation for the scope of the answer in terms of the content that you expect the student can give you as a task developer. Okay, so if we have the restricted response, normally the student will not go far. Okay, so and then again we show the marks, the marks show there, then they will have a better adjustment and yes, planning regarding the land automatically. So far, our school's practice, we are not purposely to limit the length of their answer, the number of the word also. But then we more to the restricted response essay questions. So automatic, and then points provided, and then the student have a very better adjustment lah. Okay, as in terms of the what is it? Because once your question is well structured, and then the scope will be clearer. You understand not? Then you as a task developer, you are very clear. The points provided, right? How, to what extent, okay? How detailed you expect from them, right? So this is what I'm going to highlight, okay? Dr. Peter Gan. Okay, come back to this one. Okay, what is scoring rubric? Okay, this descriptive scoring scheme, okay, provide the criteria for assessing student. Okay, when we discuss about scoring rubric, we must remember about we must understand the word criteria. Either scoring rubric in holistic or analytic. Okay, maybe some of us have misconceptions, say that scoring rubric for analytic we did show the criteria, but holistic no. The answer is wrong. Okay, so once we use scoring rubric, we must be very clear about what does mean criteria. The criteria is extremely very important, like I said just now. Okay, so guide, because the criteria will decide the weightage and the marks given to the student's response. Okay, so that's why that is to determine the whole assessment's validity. This criteria play a very important role. Okay, so guide the analysis of the product or process. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's not only scoring, we can use it for the product but process as well. We can use it. Okay, I use it for the number of my student, which is small for my EDD student, and then when they have the presentation, their presentation is half an hour because they have a project, So, and then it's very easy, convenient. I found that it's more detailed and more convincing, and then in terms of validity, it's better. So although you will say that observation don't, that is not, no experts say that observation cannot use rubric. Okay, I use it because that is more consistent between my scoring and also the the panel's scoring. Okay, so just want to highlight here product and also process as well. Okay, next. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, scoring, rubric scoring, rubric scoring pula. Okay, scoring rubric we can develop it in the general or task specific. Okay, because some of the lecturer asked me, which one is correct? Either one also can. General means, ladies and gentlemen, we develop the scoring rubric, for example, for the presentation across the tasks. Maybe different group, they have different tasks, right? So, but I share with the same scoring rubric because because actually the task for the presentation is assessing the similar learning outcome, right? So that we call it is a general across the task. Okay, but for the task specific scoring rubric is just tailor specific for the particular task. The descriptions of the level even also highlight the particular content that we expected. Yes and not? So it means that the development of this task-specific scoring rubric is purposely for the particular task. So for example, final exam. Okay, final exam, let's say we have 4 questions. So we can have this task-specific scoring rubric for this particular task, question 1, 2, 3, 4. The advantage of using task-specific especially involve more than 2 scholar two scholar means 2 assessor, 2 examiner. So the consistency, we will not that worried because it's very specific for the particular task. Of course, the examiner will mark how to say across all the tasks. It's not task by task, but some of the examiner, they just mark their own task, right? But some of the practice examiner, they mark you in charge for this 10 script, in charge for the 10 script, isn't it? So me across the task, they mark, okay, they in charge for the task of the marking of the all tasks. So if we have task specific scoring rubric, then the consistency, we will not that worried. Okay, so this is what I would like to share with you, ladies and gentlemen. Score, what is it? Wait, how come it jump to here? Okay, sorry. So general also can, but and then task specific also allowed. Okay, so next. Okay, so scoring rubric basically, just now I say general and specific is for the scoring rubric. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So basically we have 2 basic approaches to when we say about scoring rubric: analytic and holistic. Okay. So for analytic scoring, it lists the criteria of the responses and the number of points. Okay, show you example. Now this one, for example, no, this one is, do you think that this one is analytic scoring? Do you think this one is analytic scoring? No, not yet, isn't it? It look like more to the marking scheme, is it? Point scoring scheme, isn't it? Not yet. I haven't shown you. You know, you must I hope that you at least you able to remember the scoring tool. Just I share with you the point scoring scheme, the rating scale, the the checklist, and then now we go to the number 4. The most important, our main focus today, scoring rubric. Are you clear now, ladies and gentlemen? There are 4, okay? Okay, good. Okay, I worried that you are confusing now, you know. Okay, so this is a scoring rubric. Can you see? Okay, come, ladies and gentlemen, you will see that what I say is a criteria. Can you see the criteria? Preparing a table of specification is a project, for example, one of the project. Okay, they have to create the TOS table of specification, like just now I mentioned, okay, and then they have developing the scoring rubric. Okay, they have, I mean the candidate, the student is a project, for example. Imagine it's a project. They have to create the they have to show their creativity and originality, especially for the 4th one, constructing of performance tasks. Means in the project, they have to create their originality from them, create the task based on what they have learned. Okay, and then suppose the 3rd criteria should come to should shift to 4th criteria, and then the constructing of performance task should shift up to the 3rd. Okay, never mind. Okay, so and then they have to show their creativity and originality. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you will see that the percentage in terms of the weightage, they are a bit different, right? 20%, 20%, 20%, 40%, and count up to become to 100. And then you will notice that you will have a level, beginner, developing, accomplished, and exemplary. Can you see that? And then also we can use the scale 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7, 8, and 9 to 10. Okay, so it means that we will allow the examiner to have within the range, what range they want to give. Okay, so this is what we call it as analytic scoring. You have the criteria. We have 4 criteria, ladies and gentlemen. Just now I read the column 1. Can you see the column 1? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 20%, 20%, 20%.
Yes.
Okay. I hope that you understand what I mean criteria. Okay, so the levels also we have 4, right? Okay, so each level we have the description. Okay, so if you ask me how many levels is more appropriate, so normally it's 4 to commonly the practice is 4 to 5. If you found that you want to have more, as long as you can differentiate the levels description. Okay, so this is one thing. Maybe you haven't asked. I answer because before that the participant asked me this, so I share with you directly, easier. Don't need to ask me. So the criteria, you will see that the 4 criteria is extremely like just now I told you, the validity is very important. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you imagine that now you are going to prepare the scoring rubric for the presentation. So in the presentations, actually, ladies and gentlemen, you type the keyword analytic scoring in the website, thousands, hundreds of the template will come out. Even we have the software about the template, very easy. You just key in the criteria. They will come out the description for the level some more. So ladies and gentlemen, it's very convenient, isn't it? So let's say you just type for presentation, oral presentation. So they will show you all the suggested criteria some more. So ladies and gentlemen, you must be careful. Of course, we can adapt, but we cannot adopt. We can adapt because when come to the descriptions of the levels, maybe we need to refer. Am I right? So of course we can adapt it. Okay. Wait, I will look at your chat because I see a bit of chat. Okay, so when we come to the setting for the criteria, ladies and gentlemen, for example, presentation. Okay, presentation. Normally people will say that what is the important criteria, right? What is it? The body language, the eye contact, right? The flow of the content presented, right? So this is a very common, right? Presentation. So if let's say we follow the common criteria to put it as our presentation, so is possible the student we can say that the problem happen is it's possible the student score higher, but actually they don't how to say, they don't achieve the LO, right? Because the LO we have to go. That's why what I want to highlight here, ladies and gentlemen, when we set the criteria, always we need to go back to the LO. Okay, what the LO require, right? So the weightage we put as the highest percentage, for example 40%. You know why? Because one of the lecturers shared with me, she has experience to compare using holistic and analytic. So he say, when use analytic, look like the marks is higher when I use holistic. She has this kind of experience. So we try to find out, because the weightage for each criteria look like same. Then she told me, actually this one is my main. Then the main, you try to put it higher, then the more accurate of the marks will be presented by using this, your scoring rubric. Understand what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? You can use grade, it's up to you, no problem. Okay, so if let's say you want to use 1, 2, 3, 4, that is okay. But because why? Because I will use the range 1, 3, 4, 6. It's easier for the when we want to have more. When we allocate the scale, we still in between, right? Sometimes in between. So 7 between, between 7 to 6. Maybe I will put 5 instead of put. Don't know how to decide. 2.6. That is very hard, isn't it? Okay, so that is another that is the issue I would like to highlight. Ladies and gentlemen, we can adapt, we can refer the website, okay, especially when we want to set the criteria, but always go back. So because it will influence, totally will influence the validity of our assessment. Because we decide marks allocate, to the students respond, right? So again, so if you use point scoring scheme, you will see that when we want to assess students reasoning pattern is very hard. Like just now I show you 5 points, right? So but here there will be, how to be more detailed description, right? More detailed description. So therefore, that is more consistent, okay, when come to the scoring. Okay, so this is the advantages by using scoring rubric. Okay, okay. So this is what we call it as analytic. You will see that we have a different criteria and we separate it. Okay, we have 4. Wait, I check your chat box. Okay, you can put grade, it's up to you. Okay, or I put percentage, after that I convert to grade. Okay, doctor, the criteria show 2020, but the Rubik score is different. No, that one is the skill, No, because you know why? Because when I use for the first round, ladies and gentlemen, your scoring rubric, normally when you newly develop, you will see that sometimes you never see, you couldn't find the problem, But after you try, then you will notice the problem. I pass to the panel. When I beginning, I put 1, 2, 3, 4. Who is it? Just not ask me the question. Very good. We share each other. Sometimes you can share with me, and then when you ask question, then I can think, Then sometimes you have new question, so I learn new things, because you are from different. Actually, we are the same, We actually consider when come to the workshop, it's look like sharing, So you have new information. I learn from you, because we are different school, So Dr. Gan, yes, initially actually I put 1, 2, 3, 4, but then the examiner very hard sometimes between 3 and 4 they ask me very hard only 1, 2, 3, 4. You understand? Just decide one by using 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes they put 3.4, 3.8, 3.6. So therefore I put a range. Then better for them to to give to provide their points. That is my based on my experience during my first try. This is what I can share with you, Dr. Gan. Okay, so just now I show you is criteria. Sorry, it's not criteria. It's analytic. Ladies and gentlemen, try to remember the word. Analytic scoring and holistic scoring. Okay, remember the word. Okay, so just now I show you in detail. This one is analytic. You can see the separate criteria. Okay, so now I share with you is about holistic. What kind now? I think I still have the time. Okay, so holistic scoring is very different. The scorer will read the response, the overall answer of the student, and then they will give a overall judgment. Now, I show you example. Okay, if holistic scoring, we apply to the general impression. Based on the score, the examiner's general impression, then they make the overall judgment. Then they decide the grade. Sometimes you can put the range also here. Okay, the range also at the score there 1, 2, 3, 4, isn't it? That is up to you. You can put it based on your creativity, but because like my experience, okay, after first round I can see the problem, then we can change. Okay, there is no problem. We must make it more flexible as long as accurate, easier to be used. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so example of a holistic, you will see that, ladies and gentlemen, like I said just now, some of them they have a misunderstanding, say that holistic scoring actually no criteria. No, you will see the word that I purposely bolded actually is the criteria. Actually, they are all criteria: estimation, mathematical operations, logical conclusion, and explanation. So there are 4 criteria in the description for each level. Can you see that? So it means that we combine all the criteria in the whole description. Okay. So it means that the examiner will read the whole essay, for example, and then they decide it. That is, we call it as a holistic. Okay, so based on my reading of the journal article, those who have the experience examiner, Okay, they try to compare, you know, the result. If they use holistic and analytic, which one is more consistent? Yes or not? They do the in these kinds of research, and then they found that those who are experienced lecturer actually very consistent. The result, I mean, the grade, I mean the score, the grade given, if they even they use holistic. Okay, so what I want to say here, what to share with you here is experience examiner. Okay, then maybe is one of the alternative that we can use for holistic. Okay, and then holistic is faster, right? It's faster. And then holistic, the limitation is we unable to detect students. We unable to share with the student about their weaknesses, right? You because like just now for the this analytic, you see, we will allocate points, show the student criteria one, how many you get, right? So if a student asks curious about their grade, so I can show them. I always tell them I can show you confidently why you only get B plus for a project, because because I use analytic scoring. Can you see that? But holistic, you unable, isn't it? But because sometimes how to say, involve a lot of the students, you know, and then if experienced lecturers, then holistic maybe will be useful. Okay, so but if involve more than scholar, and then got new and old, and then better to how to say, consider about the validity and reliability, then maybe analytic will be better. But of course, analytics will be time consuming compared with the holistic, right? Because holistic analytic, you have criteria by criteria, you have to allocate more marks. Whereas for the holistic, general, what is it? General impression, right? The overall judgment given to the student. Can you get it? And then one thing is, some of the school, some of the lecturer, they say the students' product, when they want to score them, they cannot use analytic, because analytic purposely want to separate the criteria. They want to see their product as overall. Okay, so that is another reason. Okay, based on my searchings of this point, yes, we we can say that holistic scoring will be more appropriate. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have to know the pro and con. We have to know the common situation and common problem faced by the developer, by the assessor, so we can decide. Okay, we can then after that, after we have this kinds of information, we hope that we can decide it's appropriately about the decisions about using scoring tool. Okay, this is what the purpose where we have sharing here. Okay, so criteria of scoring rubric. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, like I said just now, don't simply we adopt from the template, right? We have a lot actually, right? Okay, so must be very careful. We have to refer back, and then remember the weightage. Okay, maybe I would say that students say that I share with them the scoring rubric. They will share it, doctor, whether the volume, our pronunciation will not consider. I say that no, this is not the English course. It's about the basic education measurement. Why I want to consider your what is it, your language use, isn't it? Okay, so this, I mean, they will ask me, okay, so maybe okay, so for the sub 10%, I will consider about their, what is it, their communication skill. Their how to say, their I mean their communication, you know, they whether is it flow, is it what is it, the fluent or not when they present, you know, when they presenting their the content of the title. Okay, so I mean as a minor, that okay. Okay, but then remember the main still, we must be very careful, make sure that that is our the main focus for the criteria. Okay, so then only you will see that the result will be different. Because this also, I also share, I mean, one of the lecturers share with me why the analytic look like higher, but when she used holistic, look like the score always lower. You know, just like I share with you already, right? So we will see that I mean the main focus, because when holistic, she is very clear in her mind when she judge. She know that very clear about the main focus for this project, right? The main criteria. But when it come to the analytic, look like all the criteria, all the weightage are the same, you know? So that is the That is another, the issue highlighted by one of the lecturers. So I share with you. So ladies and gentlemen, maybe you can consider all this informations I share with you. Hopefully we can come out a good scoring rubric. It's not only easy question. Okay, so come this one. Okay, LO, we have to think back, ladies and gentlemen, constructive alignment theory. Go back. The main reference is our LO. So we can convince the people, okay, the scoring rubric is valid in terms of the alignment. Okay, so how to specify the characteristic, the scale, or the behavior also can as a criteria. Okay, I don't know until how many slides I hope. Okay. So, okay, for example, Dr. Anna decided to give her student a performance assessment. She want to assess her student on the following LO. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Try to have a look. 1 second, 2 seconds, very fast, because we still have how many time? 10 minutes, huh? Okay, okay, so we try to highlight the criteria. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to show you, I just purposely want to highlight the importance of criteria. Don't simply adapt or adopt from the template. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, remember. So after we define the criteria, ladies and gentlemen, in the simple words, our LO is the main reference, please. Okay. Okay. Next step number 2. We try to have a start. Okay, to draft the descriptions for the criteria. Okay, for the levels, for the lowest first and also the highest first. Highest is our expectation, right? Opposite is the lowest, isn't it? So we are suggested. Okay, we are suggested to prepare for the descriptions of the levels for the highest and the extreme first. Okay, then for the step 3, then only we go to the intermediate level. This is what they suggest. By expert, they suggest that in such a way that will be easier for us, because one of the issue, like I say just now, they have the question normally. The participant ask me, doctor, how many levels are more appropriate and more accurate? 4 or 6 or 7. As long as we're able to differentiate it. That is not easy, right? So don't say that it's easy, but actually, my experience, we can refer the template now, start. And then we have to read carefully. We have to focus back to our task. Okay, then if you found that it's okay, actually you have to try first, ladies and gentlemen. You try the first semester, you will see the problem. Like my experience, the examiner, they have the problem. I can see that. Then next semester I will change it. We have to try. We cannot expect that the scoring will come out first round perfect. No. We have to try it. So this is my experience. So we tried it. Okay. I noticed the problem. So next semester, then of course I will change it for the next semester. So you will see that the last one, pass the rubric on students' work to make sure it's accurate to reflect the grading expectation. So from previous semester, okay. So maybe this one you suggest to us, we use the previous sample from previous semester and start to grade it whether is it okay or not. So it's one of the good suggestions. Okay. So maybe for me, I will try to rate it, and then I will pass to my experience, or pass to especially for my for the EDD course. Okay, I handle one of the fully 100% project. So I pass to the examiner. So when they use it, I can see the problem, and then this is the very obvious example of using Rubric. So and then I revise it. Okay, we need to revise it. Okay, or maybe you can ask the examiner's feedback. Okay, so you will see that is better and established. Okay, so this is basically the 4 basic steps regarding the drafting of scoring rubric. Either it's a holistic or analytic. Okay, so remember, ladies and gentlemen, don't say that holistic, no criteria, or inside one description in paragraph. Just now I show you, right? So analytic or holistic. I think I share with you, right? If the assessment is a complex with many criteria, maybe analytic rubric is appropriate. Okay, and then analytic is appropriate if, let's say, you in the formative assessment. Formative assessment still remember the main purpose is I want to lead the student, to monitor the students' learning progress, to lead them, to monitor them in terms of identify their weaknesses and their strengths, right? So if we use analytic scoring, that will be easier for us to share with the student in terms of giving feedback, what types of the weaknesses and their strengths in their answer, right? So this is I mean, we go back, ladies and gentlemen, go back to the purpose of your assessment. Okay, whether it's formative or summative. Okay, maybe you will say that is it okay formative we use it analytic, and was it year-end exam we use holistic. But holistic, we must make sure that the consistency of the marking is another one problem. Okay, so if you mark question by question, we are not going to mark candidate by candidate, isn't it? Our practice is we have to mark question by question. Question one finish all candidate 200, then only we go to the next question. That is the consistency we can have, right? In marking. So in marking, I mean the consistency will automatically, although we use analytic, still, I mean, still we can use it analytic. You are how to say, you are familiar with analytic scoring. So, and then the next one, if the assessment is not as complex or they seem to be too interdependent in terms of the criteria, like I share with you just now, one of the school, they say the product the student produce is really, the criteria cannot be separate, it's really close related. So therefore they use holistic. Okay, so this is the argument that, I mean, I found that is, I mean, it makes sense, right? So holistics will be more appropriate in this aspect. Okay, so do you have any questions before we end? Already 12 something, more than 12. Okay. Do you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, like I say, very challenging. We conduct workshop through online. I cannot see you, but okay. And then we cannot have face-to-face interactions. But then I'm most welcome if you have any questions or any sharing that you would like to share with me. Okay, you can email me every time. Okay, like my experience before. Okay, so I will try my best to help you. I will try my best to share you if I know that I managed to do it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much. Thank you for joining this workshop. I hope you have learned something. Okay. Thank you. I pass to Dr. Puan Puan Noliza. Terima
Thank you,
kasih,
Dr.
Puan
Lim.
Noliza.
Thank you, Dr. Lim.
Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lim, for conducting this webinar. We really appreciate your support.
Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to complete the feedback form. You can find the link in the chat box. Thank you very much for attending the session. We hope to see you in our future webinars. So CDAE wishes Selamat Hari Raya to those celebrating and happy holidays to the rest. Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.